Okay guys, here's a video to show you how to get the correct pinion mesh on any Mikado logo helicopter with a herringbone pinion. The first thing you want to do is you look at my helicopter here. I've installed the motor. It's not tightened down, so it's actually still movable. You can see it's still moving back and forth. But if you notice, the pinion is aligned right now with the main gear. That pinion is not cinched down right now. It's just in there loosely. The grub screw is around the shaft on the flat spot, so I can actually spin it and get to the flat spot of the motor and tighten it if I have to later on. Sorry about moving that. But you can see the thing moving, but it's still, the grub screw is on there loosely, so I can actually move that pinion up and down. But what I've done is I've already installed the motor on the shaft and then pressed it up against the gear in order to align the height of the pinion, okay? At this point, this is where I want to tighten my pinion down, and then I know as far as the height is set. So hopefully, just 1 second, see if I can put this there so you guys can kind of see that whole process happen. Stick my tool in here and tighten that pinion down to where it's good to go. I know it's not going to move. Solid. I already got my my Loctite on the grub screw. I kind of put it in there ahead of time. I'll go ahead and check it one more time. Okay, that guy's in there tight. Not going anywhere. Okay, now that I have the height set, now I have to set the actual mesh. Okay, how tight or how loose do you want to do it? Okay, so you want to spin the main gear until you can, and what I do is I put my finger on the top of the motor and I move the gear back and forth until I can find the high spot on the gear. So what you'll do is you move the motor, let's move it back off the pin, off the gear a little bit. And if you can, see if I can find a high spot there, or a low spot. All right, you can hear it kind of clicking. That's because it's going back and forth on the main gear. And I'm trying to find the high spot on the gear right now. So I'm gonna move this back a little bit more. So I can get more play in there, I can tell. And you guys can hear that. And to find a spot that does it the least, so I'll push it up just a little bit to where this whole thing has to move at once. I'm gonna find that high spot. I haven't found it yet. It might be a little trial and error, but you get it until you find, okay, it's moving a little bit there, so that's not, okay, it's a little bit less there. There's no movement right there on that spot. There's a little bit here, none here. Okay, so that means I found the high spot. And if you find the high spot, when you find the low spot, you'll have a little bit of a movement back and forth. And there it is, right there. So I got a little bit of movement there, nothing here. Okay, that is how you set your pinion mesh. So at the high spot, there should be zero lash. You don't want it pressed up against the motor, up against the pinion to where it's super tight, but it should be zero lash there. So now I'm going to tighten down my motor mount real quick. What I'm gonna do is on the logo, on the 700, I can tighten the lower and one of the topper and one of the lower to make sure it's aligned properly. And then I can check the gear mesh and then tighten the rest of them as necessary. Okay, all right, so I've tightened that part of the gear again. So now, check it one more time. High spot, there's a low spot. You can hear a little bit of lash there, I can just feel it. There's none there, there's none there. And a little bit right there. You guys can probably hear it. Kind of hard to hear, but it's there. So I have none at the top, and a high spot, and a little bit of low spot. That's the perfect pinion mesh. That's how you set it up on a logo. And then you never have to worry about the pinion being aligned before you put it on. You actually just slide it on the shaft until it's loosely. You can actually move it up and down. And then when you get the motor tightened down, on the Logo 700, it's kind of easy because you tighten it before you install it. But on like a 600, you tighten the motor down first. You push it up against the gear, tighten it down, align the pinion, and then make sure that the motor's tight before you set the height. Then once you set the height, you loosen it, adjust it back and forth until you get the correct mesh. So if you guys got any questions, give me a call or call me at Mikado, 1-844-Mikado extension 2. You hit me up on Instagram or Facebook as well. And always email me at vstabby@mikadousa.com. Glad I could help.